We want to welcome everybody today with Mom and Dad Talks. And today, Mom and Dad are on location somewhere in Niles. I don't know where they're at. But today, we have special guests, the Mitchells, James Mitchell and Krista Mitchell, all the way from D.C. And they're going to be talking to us today about voter suppression. But especially today, Mitch, I want you to talk a little bit because your family has been in the fight for a long time about equality. Can you talk a little bit about that, sir?
Yeah, so I grew up as even my early memories marching and protesting. My dad was a civil rights leader. He worked with Dr. King, the Poor People's Campaign. He was one of the key people in New York. Fought against Mayor Koch. He's always been a trumpet for justice, for civil rights, for equality, and for the poor and disfranchised. So at an early age, I was aware of, really that's part of our calling, is to stand up for the rights of those who don't have a voice, whether in the society we live in, we don't have a voice, not because God didn't give us one, but it's because systematically it's trying to be suppressed. And so I, at an early age, we marched, in Bensonhurst when they killed 3 young black men just for trying to get a slice of pizza in a white neighborhood. We were there. My father was involved in Sharpton on many issues, and so that's the fight for civil rights is just a part of my upbringing. So it's something that I want to pass on. Unfortunately, we still are at a point where we need to march and we need to stand up, and like Frederick Douglass said, we need to agitate until we begin to see the change that our parents, struggled so much for.
And I think, Mitch, you bring out so many great points, man. I mean, the standpoint of almost over 50 years later, we are still have to deal with this thing of equality in voting.
Yes.
And wow, I'm amazed at this, and feel free to chime in here, Krista. Krista, because you have a different perspective on this from where you work and everything like that. But how do you also feel about this here? Because because we'll get back to you, Mitch, because you're gonna bring some powerful points out. How do you feel about voter suppression, Krista?
Well, my first exposure to it, I guess a modern exposure to it, was back in the 90s when I was working on voting rights issues. And there were a lot of cases that were going on regarding gerrymandering and redistricting, drawing the lines that, favored a particular party over another. In one particular case in Georgia, it was Miller v. Johnson. It's where there was a white candidate that ran in a black district and lost. And so they sued the state, saying that there was gerrymandering and the redistricting lines that were disadvantaged to other candidates of other persuasions. So what was so crazy about it is that in the state of Georgia, Blacks make up 27% of the population.
Yeah.
So it was such a ridiculous case that they won, and it's the opposite of that is that these are practices that went on all the time for white jurisdictions, and drawing the lines for their political parties, but for even how it was drawn for that it kind of resulted in an advantage for the Black population there. They were so quick to tear it up and to bring in all these things that they had been doing all along.
Wow. And so it's just fascinating that it just doesn't stop. It's almost like if we don't get our way, let's just change the rules versus changing the message. What do you want to say, Mitch?
Yeah, Todd. It's like when you're playing spades, for your veggie card plays maybe rook, but basically it's like, in the middle of the hand after the cards are dealt, once you look at your cards, you want to change the jokers and make the other joker the big joker or the small joker, or you want to rule out, once you and your partner realize you don't have any jokers, you don't want to make the jokers have any power at all. And so, and that's really what's happening. And that's, and that's why for Black folk, I'm hoping this spades analogy resonates. You would be up in arms, you would be arguing, you would turn the table over if someone tried to pull that in a spades game. And that's what they're doing now. They're trying to look at the cards, and they just saw that, now that we have good cards and we've worked hard and fought hard to get those cards. Now they just want to change the rules in the middle of the card game. And, if we allow that to happen, it'd be the equivalent of allowing someone to change the rules in the middle of a spades game, and you should be up in arms over that, just as much as we should be up in arms over what they're trying to do in Georgia and what they're trying to do in all of these states. And so it's a small group, trying to hold on to power. And, we have to educate our children, we have to educate ourselves, and we have to, be willing to, march into hell for a heavenly cause, as the song said.
And it's just so fascinating that, this country, when we were growing up, was taught to be a melting pot, right? All of us are here to make America great. All of us, not just one section. Everybody has a role to play, right? And just be a great person, and this country can be great, right? And it's just sad to see that you got a group of people, small group there is, that frankly don't want to make America great. They just want to make America a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part about it is that, I thought as Americans, we all are Americans, that we all have a role to play in making this country great by going to the standards and the ideal of what this country is supposed to be, not where it's used to be, but where it's supposed to be. And so, with that in saying, what are your thoughts here before we get ready to close up here, as far as, because it hurts. Your family, our family, has been in this fight for such a long time, and we're still fighting the same thing. It's almost like we're going backwards. I mean, so any last thoughts on that you want to say, Mitch or Krista?
You can go ahead.
Well, I would just like to refer to Matthew 5:13-14, where we're called to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world. I think part of that calling is being good citizens and fighting for justice. So I think even though we're in the same battle that our parents were in and their parents, I don't think we should give up the fight. And I think it's our responsibility, as Christians, as African Americans, to champion this cause and to really do our part in finding some line of justice, and confronting, voter suppression.
Yeah, I mean, using that same scripture, it goes on to say that, a salt that loses its saltiness is really good for nothing. And so, part of what has got us and kept us, alive or thriving as a community, as a people, has been our saltiness. We were salty in different areas of civil rights. We were salty throughout, speaking out against injustice. We were salty. Our salt was going into the communities and being that season and being that help. And this is really, I don't think there's any issue right now that's more important for the survival and the future of our young people, our kids, and our communities than the right to vote. We've gotten that right, and we've now learned how to exercise it, and they want to alter that. And we can't allow the progress that our parents, died, were beaten, and struggled to give us this right to vote. We can't allow them to take back the progress that we've made. And we need to hold our politicians accountable. We need to hold our president accountable. We need to hold our new vice president accountable. But most of all, we need to hold the opposition and make it plain and hold them accountable to the importance of this fight. So, whatever we can do, it's not happening in our state, but in the states that it is happening, if we can support it financially, we need to do that. There's other ways we can support it. We need to find out what those are, even though we may not be in those states. If there's one community that we allow this to happen in, then it can easily happen in ours. So
yeah,
that's why.
And I like how you said that. If it can happen here, some people just watch to see can they get away with it. And if they can get away with it, guess what? We're going to do the same thing. It's kind of like the copycat killers and all that other stuff. That's the scary part about it is that you got a group of people like, well, I'm not going to try it, but if they can get away with it, hey, let's go ahead and do it. And that's the scary thing about it is that even though this is wrong, even though they know that it's wrong, they don't care. And they disguise it up as, well, you know what? There's improprieties in, in voting. And there was such a small number. And the thing about it is just because you didn't win it, there's something wrong. I mean, and that's really the scary thing about it is just because you didn't win it legally, whatever side of the fence. I mean, this worked for President Trump when he won the election. There's a lot of people upset. Now that you lost the election, it can't be. And the question is, why do you think it's fraud now?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem I deal with is why do you think there's fraud now when he won the election? There was a lot of angry people. You saw the protesters out there when Trump won the election. A week afterward, every protest in the city, about 100,000 people, right? When he lost the election, you didn't see those numbers out there protesting with Biden. All you saw was those people on the Capitol going and trying to stop a fair thing. And it wasn't peaceful because people actually lost their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Someone shot a gun, unfortunately, and killed a human being there. So it wasn't peaceful, and let me just tell everybody, you just can't walk up anywhere in Washington, D.C. like that and not get put down some kind of way.
Not if you look like us. If you look like us, you can't do it. I mean, that's a whole nother show.
We're going
January 6th is a whole nother show. But
we're going to talk about that a whole nother show. We're going to bring you big guys back on because I really like the perspective that you guys bring, and I hope this was educational for you today. And this is more thought-provoking today. And I really thank you guys for coming on Mom and Dad Talks today, and thanks for enlightening us on our responsibilities as human beings here. So anyway, guys, till next time on Mom and Dad Talks, thank you, Krista and Mitch, for coming on today. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Until next time, bye.